Let's talk about flying cars this morning. The thing that we saw in the Jetsons when we were kids, that fun TV show where we were like, oh, we're gonna grow up in the most amazing, cool world. We're gonna have all these gadgets and our house will float in the clouds and Rosie will be there to do all of our chores. And it just never happened for us, for our generation, right? We're obviously still here. We're still kicking around. We still have time to go. But for our kids, if your child is, let's say, under 10 years old, or especially for your grandkids, this future is for sure going to happen now. We've talked about humanoid robots, we're talking about AI, we're talking about all kinds of things that is just speeding forward at such a rapid pace that the world has never seen. This stuff is for sure going to happen now. But today we're not here to talk about any of that. Today we're here to talk about flying cars. Okay? Again, back to the Jetsons, right? And many of you might look at me and roll your eyes and say flying cars are 20 years away, 30 years, 40 years. Not the case, right? There are many publicly traded companies out there you can go look up and do your due diligence on. Two of the biggest ones are Joby Aviation, Joby Aviation, and Archer Aviation, just like a bow and arrow archer, right? Uh, Big, huge publicly traded companies have built prototypes, have been testing these things for years, are going after FAA certification, some as soon as the end of this year. And then there are dozens of other tiny little companies that are doing the same thing in test pilots and test runs all over the world. Some have prototypes, some have concepts, some have been already approved, for example, in China and some other countries to do passenger runs or cargo runs. Some are autonomous, some require pilots, some have fixed wings, and some flip their wings up and down. Really cool concepts and cars out there, but this stuff is for the now, it's not for the future. So, why does it matter to a campground? Well, two reasons that it matters to a campground we're going to talk about today. We'll see how this video dates in the future, okay? Number one is that there are 54% of people, I think, in New York City, for example, who don't own a vehicle, who can't, if they wanted to, get out of the city and go to a campground an hour or 2 hours or three or more away, right? Unless they're carpooling with a friend, or I don't know, they want to pay $500 to $800 for a one-way Uber out to your campground. It'd have to be a pretty special campground. Not saying it's not possible, but unlikely. And how are you going to reach them with marketing? Anyway, we're getting off track. But lots of people in lots of cities around the world that don't have reliable transportation that would be interested in the outdoors, camping, glamping, RV parks, if they were exposed to them. So, what flying cars does is it opens up that whole audience of people to be able to get out into nature in like a 20-minute flight. So they're called eVTOL aircrafts, and they basically like take off vertically. They fly for a certain distance. It's like 300 to 500 miles ish, maybe a little bit less in the early days, right? But that's the goal. And then they just land on a pad. They go straight down. My hand was off camera there, right? So straight up, straight down, and travel short distances for now, but those distances are obviously going to get much longer over time. There are major airline companies like United Airlines and Delta and American who have partnerships with some of these companies who are going to use them for short airport to airport traffic or passenger pickup and drop off or things like that, right? Uber's exploring things in this vein in nature, so this stuff is here right now. The only bottleneck of how fast it's going to scale is obviously the manufacturing and the FAA approvals. Once the FAA approves it, assuming we don't have a patchwork of state regulations, then you're going to have the ability for these things to scale pretty quickly. It's really just going to be limited by the manufacturing capability of how fast can they build these things, and then how many places can they actually land in the world. But they're coming quickly, right? In less than 10 years, probably less than 5, you're going to see them in big cities, and in probably less than 10 they're going to be capable of going quite a few places and be scaled. And so my point to you as a campground is this is going to open up a whole new world of people in cities who are willing to explore the outdoors and nature that you've never even thought to target before, that are going to be able to come to your campgrounds as easy as they can drive around the block to a hotel. That's number one. Number two is the package opportunities for you. So right now you should be going out in your campground and identifying a spot where you can have a flying car or two land. I'm not telling you to build a landing pad right now, but you could identify a spot for it in the future, right? And I don't know what the specs will be or the dimensions or how big they will be or what the regulations or rules around them will be in your town or area or city or federally or whatever else, right? But a big giant place in a field with no trees above it, that a car can just go and pop down into your campground, right? Then there's one of two things that can happen. A is they can choose a destination of your campground, and that could be a destination to your campground, or it could be a destination landing at your campground to go somewhere else in the area that's closer. So then you become either a campground or you become a like basically landing pad service. Think of it like a mini airport where you can charge a fee for these things to land. And who knows, if you're near a major waterfall or a national park or something like that, there's all kinds of money making opportunities for you to charge $5, $10, $20 every time one of these things lands, right? Super easy. There could be a ton of people coming in and out. Two is the reverse. Now, what if you as a campground owner purchased a flying car or two, and you were able to then market that effectively and say, well, I'm going to sell a package online where they can come, maybe see the national fall or the waterfall or the national park nearby, or maybe just come camping at my glamping or luxury, RV resort. I don't even know if it's an RV resort at that point, right? Because they don't have an RV that they're attaching to the bottom of the flying car. So we'll call it a campground or a glamping resort. And then at that point, I can sell that package and I can say, well, what transportation is included in your package? Just like the hotel shuttle would pick you up at the airport, we now have a flying car that will just go to one of the centralized pickup points that's available in the city that you live in, if it's available. And we will you just tell us what time you are going to depart, kind of like you tell Marriott what time you plan to arrive. And if it's an autonomous shuttle, it's even easier. Self-driving aerial vehicle or whatever, it just takes off whenever it needs to and goes and picks up your guests and brings them back to the campground, and they're there and everything's fine. If it requires a pilot, that's a little bit more complex, but still, like, then you can just go get these people who want to go camping and bring them to your campground. So there's all kinds of really cool ways that just this single invention alone is going to change the world of camping as we know it. I think it's going to bring a whole lot more people into the outdoors and be really cool for you guys. So go out in your park, find a spot where you'd be like, oh, this would be really cool if a flying car just landed here or took off from here. I could see this happening. And then just remember it and come back to this video because it's going to come really quick and faster than you think. See you guys.